Joey Lucchesi strikes out the side in the seventh inning.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 159 of Shea Station. The Mets are finally done playing on the West Coast. They split a series in San Francisco. They win the first two, they lose the last two, and they finish the trip 7-3 against two pretty good teams and one not so good team. But I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack, aka Jolly. Joining me is Jerry Blevins. Jerry, how was your weekend, man?
Much better now knowing that we don't have to stay up till like 2 in the morning.
We're done. We're
Man, the
done.
West Coast swings are so tough.
Jerry, I didn't fall asleep this year.
I'm
There's
so
something to be
proud of
said. That's character growth, man. That's character
you.
growth.
You're doing it. You're coming into your own. You're
I
no
know.
longer a rookie status.
Had a lot of doubters.
You're in that arbitration year, so you're stepping up your game.
Gotta prove myself, man. Yeah, I mean, I stayed up for all these, even those 10, 15 ones. Had to work socials on a couple of them, which was tough. But no, it was fun. First two games were great, especially that game two, which we'll definitely talk about. Mets lose some close ones in the final two, but I said right before the series, if you go out there, you win the final game in LA, and then you split in San Francisco, you come home 7-3, and I think you take that West Coast trip regardless of who you're playing on the way.
That's a very, very successful series or road trip because you got to sweep, you got to win, and you got to split. And
Yeah,
that's money in the bank.
absolutely money in the bank. There's still questions to answer with the rotation and stuff like that. Should we dive into the whole series? Do a little recap?
Let's do a recap. I'm in.
But before I can give you guys the series recap from San Francisco, I got to tell you guys about today's sponsor, which is the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if that bet cashes with code SHEA, SHEA. And if you get that bonus bet money, you can use it on some same game parlays like I did this weekend. I cashed in big time when I bet the Mets to win, a Brandon Nimmo hit, and Joey Lucchesi to get 4 strikeouts. He got a lot more than that. And that was an easy payout. And you can do the same thing if you download their app right now. Use code SHEA, SHEA, bet $5 on a pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if that bet cashes only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code SHEA. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Any resources you might need for a gambling addiction or gambling problem, as always, are listed down below. So make sure you check that out as well. And guys, let's get to today's recap and then jump from there. All right, Jack's rolling the music in post. Here I go. The Mets go to San Francisco after a big series win in LA after losing Max Scherzer, and they get an important game one victory. They pounce on Sean Manaea in the fourth inning. It was an Alonso 2-run homer, an Escobar 2-run homer. This was the only game this series that he started. Brandon Nimmo added an RBI double to make it a 5-0 Mets lead. Kodai Senga looked great through four and then had trouble in the fifth. 5 innings pitched, 4 runs for him. The fifth inning has kind of been a problem all year. He allowed just 2 walks and 2 hits through the first 4, but kind of imploded in a 4-run fifth inning. But the Mets got his back. Jeff McNeil with a 6-inning solo home run. Alonso and McNeil add clutch RBIs. And the bullpen gets it done once again. It was Raley, Curtis, Smith, and Brigham for 4 scoreless innings. 3-hit games for Nimmo and McNeil. The Mets win this one 9-5. The big story, though, was in Game 2. A lot of question marks around the Game 2 starter who hadn't pitched in almost 2 years. Joey Lucchesi takes the bump, ran into a little bit of trouble in the first inning with a double and a walk, but got a clutch double play. And from there, it was kind of takeoff for Joey Lucchesi. 7 shutout innings. He was unbelievable. The chirp was working. 10 whiffs on the night, 3 clutch double plays. He faced the minimum in 4 innings, struck out the side in his final inning. It was exactly what the Mets needed. The first starter this year to go 7 innings for the New York Mets. They were staked to a one-run lead thanks to Guillorme's RBI, but they got extra hits later, including Pete Alonso's 10th home run of the year for a 4-0 lead. And eventually the Mets would win this one 7-0. Swig of water. And on to Game 3. The Mets are looking to win the series here, and they come out in the first inning with David Peterson on the mound, who kind of struggles again, and it was a big hit from Brandon Crawford that took it from a 1-run lead to a 4-run lead in the first inning for San Francisco. Ruff and Conforto added RBIs to put a little salt in the wound for Mets fans. It was 6 runs through 2 for Giants, but the Mets chipped away with Vogel's RBI double and Nimmo's solo home run. Peterson, although, couldn't get them back in the game with his start. He finishes 5 innings and once again doesn't walk that many batters, but it seems as though when Peterson's in the zone, he's getting hit. 5 innings pitched, 7 earned runs. He struck out 8, but 2 home runs, 98 pitches, 13 whiffs. It's a very interesting case study with David Peterson. I'm sure we'll talk about it. He retired 8 in a row at one point before Flores hit a solo home run. Logan Webb on the other side looked great, looking for his first win of the year. He goes 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks for him. The Mets rallied in the 8th and the 9th inning with 5 hits through those 2. They only got the 2 runs, couldn't get the clutch hit. Part of that was Alonso and Lindor going 0 for 8 in this game with 3 strikeouts combined. The Mets lose this one 7-4. And they go into Sunday trying to avoid the split and win the series. But guess who's back in the lineup? Big bad villain, Joc Peterson. I shudder thinking about May 24th from last year. He burns the Mets again in his first at-bat back with an RBI single off Tylor Megill. The Mets loaded the bases with 1 out, and that seems to be a kryptonite for them. They hate when those bases are loaded. Alvarez's double play ends the threat. The Mets took the lead in the 4th with a pair of sacrifice flies, one dropped by forever Met, former teammate and former beloved hero, Michael Conforto. Thank you, Scooter. Tylor Megill, though, couldn't get it done today, though. 4 innings pitched, 4 earned runs. He labors again in this one. He allows a home run on 81 pitches, only 5 whiffs, which is a little bit of a concern. Francisco Alvarez, though, ties the game later on, crushes the very high fastball. Looks like it was at his eyes, but he got the bat up there for a game-tying home run in the 6th inning. And then it was a battle of the bullpens, and Jeff Brigham looked great. He might be a weapon for the Mets this year. 2 innings pitched, perfect innings at that, striking out 4. He had a great series altogether, but in the end, it was Drew Smith who gave up the winning RBI double to Mike Yastrzemski in the 8th inning. Camilo Doval is disgusting, twirled a perfect 9th inning. The Giants won this one 5-4. They achieve a split in the series. The Mets go home with a 7-3 road trip, thinking about what could have been, but also pretty happy with the result they got in the Bay.
Great recap. That was lovely. I mentioned a few things that popped out to me. Number 1, Joey Lucchesi. What an animal. Yep.
Oh
Game 2, he came out, looked, yeah, he's a dog for sure. He got that dog in him. In the first game, Kodai Senga struggled again. Looks like a 5 and dive so far this year. Hopefully that's what we're getting. Game 3, Peterson, struggle city. Game 4, Tylor Megill, struggle city. So starting pitching again is the theme here.
Yeah. I mean, the Mets rotation it's worrying me a little bit. They are 24th in staff ERA right now with a 4.94 mark, and they're on par with teams like Colorado, Cincinnati, Oakland. Like, that's not the area that you want this rotation to be. I mean, they're beleaguered by injuries, but at the end of the day, these are still major league caliber guys out there. And it really does, in my opinion, come down to Megill and Peterson. I want to see some positive movement there. I need Senga. You want to see that kind of thing too. And we've seen what he's capable of. But these last 2 starts from Megill and Petey have looked a little bit concerning.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, especially Peterson, supposed to be the calming presence, the steady Eddie, because of how much shakeup there is. Tylor Megill, I still don't know what we've got in Tylor Megill.
Yeah.
And then Senga's been looking elite at times and then looking lost at other times. And so you don't know what you get from him. Joey Lucchesi comes and throws an absolute lifeline to this ball team, looking great. Didn't see that coming. Little sneak preview about an apple, but that guy it was so needed too for the bullpen's rest, for just a breath of fresh air. It was nice to see the offense go ahead early to give him some breathing room to allow him to keep going. So I'm worried about the rotation. The lineup looks pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely.
Alvarez, that home run was like the 5th highest off the ground. Tomahawk chop.
Crazy.
Yeah. That was a pretty bad double play that he grounded into, though. But I think he's coming along. So
yeah, I mean, Alvarez and Beatty actually got to play a little bit in this series, which is nice. I mentioned before, Escobar only played the first game. Beatty got to play the last 3, looked pretty good, hit safely in all 3 of them. Alvarez, was getting squeezed a little bit in that first at bat, but also, didn't take a good swing there. Wasn't a great at bat. Glad he got the home run. Maybe that'll get the monkey off his back and he can start getting some better reps in.
We saw Mikey Stripsky hit a game-winning RBI, and we saw Eduardo Escobar look like Carl Yastrzemski doing
Yeah.
the, stay fair home run. That was a nice hit
Like
for
that.
him.
Like that.
Yeah,
That was very
so
TV of you. I like that.
I think I was going the wrong way even. Uh, that's me being, the other way. But
Yeah.
geez, just glad to escape the West Coast. They split, could have won, could have taken one more, but it happened. They ran into a big league ball club. Logan Webb looked vintage himself.
Yes.
Um, bullpen pitched amazing. Nimmo looks awesome. Uh, did you see the Sunday Night Baseball?
I did
You know,
see the tax
uh,
segment. I thought that was very interesting from our coworker,
friend
David Cohn.
David Cohn. Yeah, that was interesting. So
Do you have
it
any
throws
thoughts on that you'd like to
a
share?
little bit of a wrinkle. So if that's what he's doing, if that's what Scherzer did, technically it's not cheating because it follows the rules, but that's
Right.
cheating. So if that's what he had, if that much stick, that's cheating, and he deserved to get ejected and suspended if that's what it was. So
If that's what it was. Did you see the clip of Phil Cuzzy after feeling Scherzer's hand, taking the gum out of his mouth and flinging it with ease? Because I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a little interesting. Gum is a notoriously sticky thing.
yeah, that's
A lot of
conspiracy
questions to be
theory.
answered.
That's the grassy knoll approach.
Yeah, I think so. We got
All
our
right.
tinfoil hats on a little bit this episode, but he's serving it.
but just to be even, if
Yeah,
that's what it was, if he had that much stick to where the ball could stick to his finger, that's cheating. So
yeah.
I don't think it was that. I think there was a lot of hyperbole and example setting and all that. But yeah, whatever. I did like the investigation. I thought it was good TV.
It was a good segment, definitely. I mean, Sunday Night
And
Baseball has a lot of pointless segments, I think, where it's kind of they're just distracting you from the game. That itself was topical and I think kind of informative. And David Cohn, was a PA guy. I don't think he's like a spokesperson for Manfred or anything like that. So I think it was just his own kind of conducted investigation. And if that was the case, it's a little alarming because, when you do
yeah,
that and the ball stays there, that's a little interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. The
But
end.
outside that, you mentioned the lineup before. The lineup looked great pretty much in every game this series. Even in the games where Alonso and Lindor didn't get it done, they looked great. Jeff McNeil had a big series, which we kind of been waiting for a little bit. He's still taking his walks, which is cool. But he got 8 hits, including a home run in this series, which I didn't have in my book. Canna had a great series. Nemo, as you said before, his mic'd up segment was great. Him saying, shoot
Ah,
after
shoot.
shoot, gosh darn, after a walk is you can't make that up. That's a
Uh,
script right there.
that's genuine and it's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Vogie got to play a little bit too, which was nice. We finally got to face some righties, so he got some reps. So that's definitely encouraging outside of the rotation struggles that this Mets lineup can still go. We don't have to be worried about them. Even Escobar, who only got one start, hit well.
Yeah, it wasn't just Pete and Lindor. It was nice to see the bottom half stepping up. Yeah, you mentioned Nimmo, who's been amazing at the top, but Canna finally looked better.
Yeah,
Doval made him look silly, but he did that to everybody.
yeah, he can make that
Uh,
happen with anyone.
and yeah, and it was good to see Vogie swing the bat. So I thought it was a very positive lineup bullpen series. So
Yeah, definitely. And then the Mets bullpen, man, not a single inning thrown by David Robertson or Adam Ottavino this entire series. And yet they go 13 innings, only one run, and it was the final inning that was thrown by Drew Smith, 15 strikeouts. Did any single performance by a reliever kind of stick out to you in these 4 games?
two of them, like obviously the guys that are known looked great, but it was Brigham, Rayleigh, that like combination of length from Rayleigh was on it, but Uceda and
Yeah,
Brigham to me were the two standouts, the two guys that are wild cards and came up. We know Brigham a little bit. He's got some history. I had no idea who Edwin Uceda was,
same.
and it was impressive.
Definitely. Yeah, these are depth pieces for the Mets. These guys did not make the opening day roster. If you go on the Mets baseball reference page, the pitching staff page is an absolute mess full of 40 mans and ILs and all that. But the guys who are on the club right now got it done. Especially, I really liked Jeff Brigham getting that last strikeout yesterday and kind of showing some emotion because, that's a guy that's trying to crack a big league roster and trying to unlock something. And his slider looks like one of the best sliders among any reliever right now. And it's definitely working. He's been perfect so far for the Mets. 4 perfect innings and 7 strikeouts, and that could be a huge weapon because we're kind of looking for guys to eat up those 6th and 7th innings. And if you have a guy with a devastating slider like Jeff Brigham, that's a nice answer.
And he's had length in his career, so he could be, as you refer to it, a swing man. Who's the
Mm.
guy? Who would be the guy? Can you even say his name anymore?
Ooh,
The guy
Trevor
you'd be.
Williams.
Yeah, are you okay with it yet?
We're going to talk about it because we got to face him this series.
I
You know
know.
what? I think we all collectively took Trevor Williams for granted a little bit, just a little bit.
I don't think
We
so.
gave him his flowers, but I
I
mean, come
I
on.
think I think people on the whole were very appreciative, understanding that that's a tough job, and
Yeah.
whenever he showed up, he showed out. So
And I'm very glad he gets to start now because that's what he deserves. And he's looked great so far this year for the Nats.
little
But
Seth Lugo
man,
action.
little Seth Lugo. I mean, imagine, I'm not saying that the Mets should have kept either of these guys to be rotation options, but they would come in mighty handy right now if we could slot them in 4 and 5. But, you live and learn. That's all.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Do we want to give our flowers out to some special performers in this series? Some apple of our eye stuff?
I'm ready.
I'm ready as
I
well,
want to.
man. Let's get it done.
So for me, I'm going to go first if you're comfortable with
Oh,
that.
I know who you're going with,
Yeah,
Jerry.
I have to go with Joey Fuego, who Joey Lucchesi, the apple of my eye. I mean, that guy, unbelievable. Off Tommy John, didn't know if he was a bullpen guy or a rotation depth piece at a time of dire need, steps up, and he's the first Mets pitcher to pitch into the 7th inning, and he throws 7 shutout, 4 hit, 2 walk, 9K. Like it's a no
Crazy.
brainer for me. What was the biggest strength of the team is the rotation has been the biggest question mark of the team thus far. He was easily the most dominant performance from a starting pitcher of the whole season, and he just showed up fresh off Tommy John on the road in Northern California, like just an absolute announcement of his presence, reminder that he was a guy, that he's a dog, that he's
A
ready to go.
dog.
So he's a dog. He is the apple of my eye.
Love it. Yeah, you kind of teased that on Twitter a little bit. Loved that. Made it a little obvious to the people. Got to tease. You've been taking after me a little bit because I love to
A
tease.
little bit. We're trying to get our count up here.
Oh yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Gotta wrangle all the Mets fans and there's too much competition.
There's 45 Mets podcasts, and we're Shea Station. We're trying to shine a little bit.
I think there's 45,000 actually.
There
Your
might
count
be,
was a
I
little
think.
low there.
There's a
I
lot.
mean,
There's a lot.
a worthy winner, Joey Lucchesi, because I mean, we didn't even know who was starting game 2 when we did the series preview last time. We were like, maybe it's. I put Budo in the notes, not even knowing that he couldn't, pitch for another 15 days. Um, and Lucchesi turned out to be the answer, and he's really the last guy that the Mets had before the depth options start getting a little scary down there, and he gave the Mets exactly what they needed. First 7 inning pitched of any Mets starter this year. The first time a left-handed starter has done that for the Mets since good old friend Steven Matz back in 2019. The Mets haven't had a dominant lefty like that in a while, and I'm not sure that it's going to be Lucchesi, but if he can give you 2 or 3 good more starts before you get Verlander or Scherzer back or both back, that's going to come up massive for the Mets, and maybe he'll have a spot in the rotation going forward because we don't really know what this 1 through 5 is going to look like a month from now, even like 3 weeks from now, because Scherzer will likely be back for the final game of the Atlanta series, which would be Sunday, so 6 days from now. Verlander is supposed to be back the first week of May against Detroit. That's what we heard from Anthony DeComo. So that's 2 guys added back in. Peterson and McGill haven't looked great, if we're being completely honest. McGill in spots for sure, but Peterson mostly has been bad. maybe you give Lucchesi a look. This is kind of his audition, honestly. These next two starts will be his audition to see if he can stay up here. And he really impressed with that first start. And this is all alluding to the fact that I'm going to give out the first double apple of the year, and it's mine is also going to go to Joey Lucchesi. I thought about I thought
Wow.
about the bullpen. I thought about Jeff McNeil, but that was just such an unexpected breath of fresh air that, because this Mets bullpen shined this series, but also if Lucchesi goes out there and throws 4 innings, gives up 4 runs, like most of us probably expected him to, the Mets bullpen has 3 more innings on their plate. Maybe the entire stat line for them changes. Maybe someone has to go in the long relief. D-Rob or Otto has to pitch. Everything, the outlook of that bullpen changes without Joey Lucchesi going out there and throwing 7 shut, including striking out the side at the end for the little cherry on top. So that was, I think, the most important part of this series because the Mets bullpen got put through the ringer through this West Coast trip, and Joey Lucchesi finally gave them kind of a night off, which they needed. Also, Tommy Hunter came back, which was nice as well. Kind of forgot to say that. So good for him. Before we move on, I do want to shout out the hitting performances that we did snub. Alonso had 8 RBIs in this series. Most of them came in the first 2 games. First player in Mets history to hit 10 home runs before May starts. Absolutely insane. Fifth on the all-time Mets home run list now. Crazy.
That's incredible. Definitely a snub, but I like the double. I like the double apple.
Gotta. I mean,
Definitely
come on.
deserve. Got it. Yep.
Did you have
But
the
Pete
first double
Alonso.
apple of the year going to Joey Lucchesi? Because I did not. I did not have
Me
that.
either.
Mm. Other hitting
Uh,
performances that are definitely worth noting. McNeil went 8 for 15, also got that home run. Canna, we mentioned before, 5 for 14, a double and an RBI. And then Brendan Nimmo gets 6 more hits, 2 more extra base hits. Daniel Vogelback with a 4 for 11. And that Mets bullpen. But I think the apple goes to Joey Lucchesi, and I don't think a lot of people would disagree.
yeah. I mean, it was just such a necessary, you know, happening out of nowhere, dominance. Very, very necessary. Man, the rotation, like you said, you don't know how it's going to shake out now. They had a chance to solidify it themselves. Like you've got McGill, whose numbers are solid, but he hasn't really shown
Right.
as good. High activity on the bases, a high whip. McGill looked like that. You've got Peterson being kind of all over the place. Singa looking like he could be a dominant force, but also not at the same time. Um, it's just been kind of wide open. So these next few starts are, who wants to be the guy?
Yeah.
So
It's a wide open field, and I didn't think it was going to be because we had basically 5 depth options, and now they're all in play. Cookie Carrasco, we know that it's a bone chip, I believe, which was the same thing that he got surgery for a year and a half ago. He's going to throw in 2 days, and the Mets will know if he can keep throwing and maybe just maintain it as the season goes on, or if it's going to be another surgery for him. And if it turns out to be the latter, there's one spot that's open for the year, most likely. And I think any of these guys could leap up and grab it. It's just a question of kind of who wants to take it. Like you said, McGill has looked good, but I mean, the 3.96 ERA doesn't tell you the story of the 1.48 whip. That's a lot of base runners to be managing. And with Peterson, it's bizarre because
yeah,
his strikeouts are up, his walks are down in these last 2 starts, but he's getting absolutely clobbered.
yeah. I'm gonna go back and deeper dive into what he's doing, Peterson. I'll probably watch that game over again. But it is bizarre, and it doesn't if you just look at the stat line, it doesn't make as much sense because anything in the zone, he's getting the barrel to, like hitters are hitting it. So it's a little concerning. So again, they still have the leg up, McGill and Peterson moving forward. If they right the ship, they're the guys. But Joey Lucchesi can take a spot. Senga could lose a spot. To be honest, Senga could lose a spot. Um, it's wide open. But at the same time, they went to the West Coast and took 7 out of 10. So
Yeah.
the ball club is still playing very well despite what was supposed to be their biggest um, win or their biggest threats being their strongest point being their weakest. And the
Yeah.
bullpen and the lineup have carried the load there. So still a great baseball team, maybe even better because of it, because once these guys get back. But it's definitely concerning.
No, I love what you said there because they're going to get a lot of juice when these guys come back. And I know it's so early to be looking at standings, but you jumped out of the gate 14-9. You're a half game out of first in a very competitive NL East. Kind of helps that the Braves just got swept at home by the Astros, which is crazy. But
Braves Twitter was struggle city.
yeah, that was a little. I mean, getting swept at home. I don't know if I've ever seen the Braves get swept at home, regardless of what team they're
That's a
playing. It's a
that's a
big
tough
deal.
place to come into. But the Astros,
They're
they're not
different.
your regular team. They're
They
built
are
different. That's
different.
right.
They are different. And then yeah, like you said, the lineup and the offense, they looked great in the 7-3 West Coast trip, especially this series. Little Luis Guillorme got some action, 3 for 10 in this series. McNeil, Canna, Beatty, they hit safely in all their games played. The one thing that kind of stands out is our guy, Francisco Lindor. Kind of had a tough series outside of that first or second game. Went 3 for 17. And this is something I want to talk about because we were, brushing it off the first week or so. And now it's starting to get alarming. He struck out 7 times in 4 games. He has 28 strikeouts in 23 games, and he has a 27.5 strikeout percentage this season. His career rate is 15.6. So he's up 12% from his career average in terms of striking out. He's driving the ball. He's not really hitting for average, but his OPS is there. Is this concerning for you at all? Because I feel like we haven't seen this version of Francisco Lindor really.
So it is a little concerning. It's having that much swing and miss in your bat is never great, but his OPS looks good. His swings look good for
Yeah,
the most part. He's just swinging and missing or fouling balls back. So I think it'll regress to the mean, and he'll be back to Lindor's normal swing rates, whiff rates, that kind of thing. And I think it'll be because of how good he looks at the plate. I think this will be a great offensive season for him, driving the ball. The average will come back to normal. He's not going to be a 330 hitter. He's
no,
not that kind of guy. But he doesn't strike out this much and never really has. So it is a bit concerning, but I do think it's a sign of positivity because I think he'll swing back into, the normal contract rates and things will average themselves out. So it is
yeah,
concerning. It is of no, but he's still mashing the ball.
yeah. I mean, he's crushing the balls in the zone. His walk rate's actually up too, and that's the thing I wanted to mention. His out of zone swing rate is still below his career average. It's 5% down, so he's still leaving bad pitches. He's just getting beat in the zone early. So I'm hoping that it'll be what you said, that it'll regress to the mean. But the Mets don't need Lindor to be a huge average guy when he's got a 120 OPS plus. He just needs to drive the ball. He's got 9 doubles already. It's amongst the top of the league. So these things will balance themselves out, but it's definitely a little bit of a concern.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on because I think he was like 18% K rate last year
Yeah,
and he's at 28. That's wild.
it's a
So
huge jump. And then last thing I want to mention before we do our little series preview is the Mets finally get a day off today. Good for them. Starling Marte back in the lineup the last 2 games. He's had that nagging neck injury from that stolen base against Miami. Played both of the last 2 games fully. Got an RBI single in there. That was a very nice thing to see as well. Mets top 4 looking good.
yeah, the top four, Marte being back, we know how dynamic he can be. We know what he means to this lineup because we saw what they were without him last year. It's concerning the neck issue that could linger. Nice to see him back to full strength. So that's good.
Hell yeah. All right. You want to tell me who we're squaring off with against those
That's
vaunted Washington Nationals?
This is nice. Coming off Monday, the off day, a long West Coast game, and MLB said, go ahead, have a night game. Be the late night Sunday night baseball game. We don't care about you. Come home, sleep your entire day off, and bounce back on Tuesday. And guess what? You're facing Josiah Gray, the budding ace. Who knows? He has looked much better this year. He is 0-4 because his team doesn't play very well, but he has a 3.74 ERA. We still don't know who's going to start for the New York Mets. It might be a bullpen game. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But Escobar, McNeil, Alonso, Tommy Pham have all hit a homer off Gray in small sample sizes. But Gray's last 3 games started 16 and 2/3 innings, only 4 earned runs, 12 strikeouts, and only that one home run. He's 0-4 because those 3 starts, Washington has been shut out, completely zero run support, DeGrom-like from Josiah Gray. That is Tuesday's matchup. Wednesday, we got Kodai Senga, the Ghost Fork man, looking to tell us who he is as a starting pitcher. He's 3-0 with a 4.29 ERA. He's going up against their big prospect, Mackenzie Gore, who's 2-1 with a 3.43 ERA. Tommy Pham, 2 for 5 against Gore. No other Met has faced him. Kodai Senga has a 12.27 ERA in the 5th inning so far. This is another return to the crappy lineups that he's been facing early in his career. So let's look to build off of him. And maybe just like Joey Lucchesi, he's got some dog in him. That's Wednesday's matchup. Let's move to Thursday. The aforementioned Joey Lucchesi, who's 1-0 with a sparkling 0 ERA, going up against Trevor Williams, the man we miss. Oh, I'm so sad. He's 1-1 with a 3.38. He's looked good as a starter. His last 3 starts, Trevor Williams has 16 1/3 with 4 earned runs and 10 Ks. Pete Alonso, 2 for 7. Tommy Pham, who's got a lot of history off these guys, is 3 for 13, both with a homer. Victor Robles is 4 for 8 with a home run off Lucchesi. And Williams, who was a big piece of the New York Mets bullpen last year and rotation, will be facing off against his former team. That is the 3-game set starting tomorrow, starting on Tuesday.
Hell yeah, well done as always, Jerry. Lots to look at in this series, especially Tommy Pham, who's faced all these guys with decent sample size and done well. So I expect him to get some playing time here if Buck wants to play that card. Bullpen game, I think you're looking at some Edwin Uceda action, some Jimmy Yacobonis action, some Tommy Hunter, and then hopefully if the Mets have a lead, Ottavino and D-Rob at the end, they're going to have to figure out and cobble together some innings here because I don't think someone's getting called up. I don't think there's room for someone to get called up or a move to be made. So hopefully they can piece together something in game 1 to be competitive or just hit Josiah Gray really well. And then I think Senga has the biggest start here. It's like you said, he gets to face one of these bad teams again. He didn't capitalize on the Oakland A's like we wanted him to. He was good through 4, struggled in the 5th. We need him to get to 6, maybe even 7 to start and really show that he's capable of doing so against, the Nationals' probable best pitcher in Mackenzie Gore. So that'll be a fun matchup to look out for. And then the Churve, getting the ball against the guy we love. 2 guys we love facing off in that final game. Should be fun.
That will be a fun one. Yeah, again, it's nice for them to get home. They're sleeping in, I promise you right now. It's 9:30 on Monday. They're not awake yet, or at least the ones without kids aren't. So,
yeah, I can definitely agree with you there. And then if you want to come say hi, the Jomboy Media crew, including me, will be taking over section 303 in right field on Wednesday for Senga Day. So if you want to come say hi and hang out, we will be there. Only the Shea Station listeners know about that, but I'll probably tweet it out later. But yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be a good one. You got a good group going? What's the size?
Oh, Jared, we got like 20 to 25 people that are coming on down.
JM Mets?
JM Mets the first JM Mets outing was this time last year, and it was 6 people. Half of them weren't Mets fans. We grew.
Now you're 20 to 25. That's pretty good stuff.
I know. People are hearing about it. They're listening. They're in on these Mets, these injury-laden Mets.
The Shea Station folks are such likable people in the office. It's hard not to be,
That's what I'm saying.
Drawn in.
We're incapable of not being nice. We've been through so much as Mets fans.
Cool.
All right, guys. That'll do it for this episode. Nice and tidy on this split. Mets come home. They finally get that day off. Enjoy your day off if you're listening. Go home and just kind of chill after a long Monday. Hope you had a great weekend as well.
Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. See you guys soon.